All right, welcome back to yet another Electron portfolio app video. In this video, we're going to be going over setting up our basic login component, as well as the basic app component. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start doing that. Let's create this login folder here. We're going to create an index.tsx file in here, and we are going to also start out by creating a login.less file. So first things first here, export a default function called login page, and we need to import our less file as well. So let's do import components /login/login.less, and that will import our less file so that way we can use it here. Let's go ahead and return a simple div element right here, and we'll just give this a class name of login tag page. So now we have a simple login component. Let's go ahead and go to our app file, and let's get rid of this stuff since we will not be needing this. All right, let's go ahead and return a div with a class name called app tag. We'll just call it app, I guess. And that's fine. Get rid of this. Let's go to styles, go to app.less, and we will get rid of this stuff. And let's create a .app, and let's do width, or we'll do a height 100 VH, and let's do a width of 100 VW. All right. So something we want to do for our app, we just want to leave this as the 100 100, and let's go to login. Let's do a .login tag page, and let's do a height or a display. We'll do flex and flex direction. Actually, that doesn't matter. Actually, yeah, it does. Yeah, so we'll want to do flex direction of column here. And let's do align items center and justify content center. And we'll give it a width of 100% and also a height of 100%. Now that we have those done, let's go ahead and take care of our rendering. So if you remember in the last video, we created a few actions for our last couple videos. We created some actions for like navigation and stuff like that. Now we need to create a couple selectors here. So let's create a navigation.ts selector. That way we can get our navigation selector, or our current nav page, right? Or no, create selector. Redux.js toolkit, there we go. And import the state and the navigation state from data objects state. And now we can do constant get nav state. We get the current state. Then we just return state.navigation. You could even null check this if you want to, but it's not really a huge deal because it shouldn't ever technically be null. So let's do constant get, or we'll just call this current page, right? And then we'll do state navigation state, and then we will extract the current page out of that state. All right, now let's export constant get current page equals create selector. We want to get the nav state, and then we want to current page this. And there. That's going to get those for us. So that way we can get our current page, and let's head back to the index file of this. And since I like to keep my imports above the standard text component, or this standard text import, we're just going to tab up a line, and we are going to import that get current page from data selectors. We don't need that at. And from there, let's go here. Let's do constant current page equals use selector, get current page. And now we should have our current pages stored in state, which is pretty much always going to be login, since in our navigation reducer, we set it as so. All right, so now that we have our current page, we want to take care of some conditional rendering here. So let's do constant render login page, or render page. We'll just call render page content equals this. Now let's create some sort of conditional rendering logic. So what we want to do is we want to say constant content equals, and then here we could do like just, let's do that real quick. Let's add a file. Let's call this main page, and let's create an index.tsx file in there. Export default main page. I gotta create that as a function, sorry. And let's tab this down. All right, so now we can just return a simple div object, and we'll just type main page here. All right, that's that. For here, we can just call login page. And for the content page, oh wait, sorry, I'm in the wrong file. So let's take this instead of all of this being here. I'm in the wrong file here. Let's move this to here. Constant current page equals use selector get current page. It's going to get our state. And then we can do our conditional logic here. Constant render main content. And this is where we're going to do our conditional rendering. So we're going to say let content equals, let's just do main page. Let's also grab a couple more user selectors, components, page. Okay, so we need to go to our user selector here. Need to constant get user equals state and return. Oh wait, this is user state dot current user. And let's create another selector down here. Export constant get current user equals create selector get user state and get user. Okay, now we created the extra selector in there. We can just get rid of that, and then let's import that selector. We'll get the current user and get auth token as well. And we can get rid of this at there. That constant current user and use selector get current user and constant auth token equals selector get auth token. So now we have those. So now let's make some conditional rendering here. If current user so if current page equals pages login, or our current user or the auth token. If any of those are, we want to say content equals login page. And then we can just return content. So this is just some like expanded rendering logic. You could very well do this completely different if you wanted to. I'm just sticking with this, just that way it's more clear and concise for you guys to read. It's very readable this way to tell exactly what's going on. So we're defaulting main page to this, and then rendering it here. Another very different way you could do this is just returning here. So you could just do that and then return main page here if you wanted to. I'll probably actually do it that way just because it's a little bit more clear. So yeah, this is going to return a login page only if our current page is the login page, or our current user is null, or our author token is null. So if any of these things are true, the login page is going to be rendered. So say like we wanted to force the user to be at the login page instead of clearing them out of state for whatever reason, you would be able to render the login page that way. Vice versa with like the auth token current user. Like say if you get like a 400 error and you need to re-authenticate, then you can just, without clearing the user and the auth token, just put them to the login page without having to clear them completely out of state. All right, so let's do components here, login, and let's do npm run dev. Actually, it's API side. Go over here, npm run dev, and we should see an application pop up here in a second. We do. This says login page, so we like to see that. All right. So let's go ahead and go back to our login page, and we will start by doing some inputs. And we'll style the inputs here. So let's go ahead and go to our login page. Let's just type in some arbitrary input. Actually, we should just create a form here. ID equals login form. And on submit equals undefined, because we're not submitting right now. Then we just need to create some input elements. Just create a username and a password field. All right, so let's do npm dev. Oh, my bad, wrong side again. So I'm gonna keep this guy over here, just that way I have him set up and we can reference that in a minute. So let's start out by, we should have everything set. So let's access our form. So let's do pound login form. We should have to set these to type equals text and all right, so once we do this, your inputs should be directly on top of each other now. And let's do reference colon not. And then we want to select, we don't want the first child. Then we want to add a margin top of say 10 pixels in between each input. Let's just get rid of that type. We don't care about the types actually in this. And we can change this, since we're going to need space between our buttons and the inputs, we'll just change this to be a margin bottom. Okay. Now let's do a button. Type equals submit. And we will just type in login here. And then you should see a little button pop up that has your login styles on it. So for login.less, let's make these look pretty now. We can do transition all 0.3s. Do these. And let's go ahead and change the widths of them to be like 50%. Widths is 350. All right. So currently our buttons in the app for styles and index, right? Currently our button is set to have this as its background color, so we'll probably just inherit from that. And that should be the same background color as those. So now we want to remove the bevels on our inputs. So that way we have just like standard looking inputs that look very nice. Okay. So let's go ahead and get rid of some of that stuff. So to get rid of the bezeling, we just need to set the um, outline to none. We don't want to have an outline. Then we do margins. Sorry, goes here. Let's add a border radius. And let's add that to be like 5 pixels or something. That way we have a nice clean radius. We probably want to add some sort of height to it. Well, but let's first add min width. And let's just do fit content on. That way we have a minimum width that requires it to fit the content. Position, probably want to set that to relative, so it's relative to its current parent. Let's throw in probably some padding could look nice. Let's just do like a 5 pixel, 10 pixel padding. Make those grow a little bit. Let's change that to ease. Get rid of ease in because it looks kind of funny. And we'll just see what that looks like. Okay. So I went ahead and added this border none. This just gets rid of the styles. So then it kind of looks like this is what we're looking at for an input here. Let's go ahead and change the width of that button as well in the app, or sorry, in the index.less. Let's find the button here, and let's just do width as 50%. And then out of the login form, we want to align items, center, and that should be fine. So now we basically have something that looks like this with just 2 little inputs and a login button. I think that's probably all we want to do here. Let's create some sort of thing at the bottom of our login our login page that'll allow us to register. We'll just say don't have an account. Register. And we should see a thing pop up. Obviously, you should see this populate in your form. What I want to do here is I want to do span again. We can target directly that nested span at a later point. But what we want to do now is we want to go to login.less inside of our login page. We just want to do spans. And we want to say margin top. And let's just give this like a 30 pixel margin or something. Drop it pretty low from our thing. And if you're using less, like I am, you can just do a simple child selector like this using the parent. And here we can do like color white or something similar. Give me 1 second here. I'm gonna pull up just like a color palette of mine. So that way I can reference that color palette. We can just toss in some values here. Alright, so let's take the color here. We'll toss that in there. That'll make our register text now. There. So let's make this to where it has a cursor, a pointer, and then we can always add an on click to that as well. Let's make it font weight. Let's make it bold. That way it kind of just stands out. Let's add another title as well. We'll do just an H1 title here, and we'll just do login. And we should see our login page start to look something similar to this, okay? Inputs, take a placeholder, yes, and we just type in username and input placeholder equals password, and we will do, all right, cool. So now we should have this, should just say username password, should be able to type in, should be dotted, this one should not be dotted, and now we have a simple little login page. So let's go ahead and I think to our register, we can add just some sort of small little scale. So let's do reference hover. And let's do transform scale. And let's just do like 1.05 or something like that. And now whenever we hover that, we should see it grow in size. All right, never mind. Let's not do that. Not really needed. We hover it, our mouse goes, so we can click register. So what we want to do now is we're going to create a small state within our login page to allow us to register based on whether or not that button's clicked. So let's say constant show register or something, and set show register equals use state, and we will just say false here. We need to add this import in. And now what we can do is the same thing here. Constant, we can do some sort of conditional rendering. Constant render login form. And what we can do is open that up, copy this stuff here, and return a fragment and paste that in, fix the formatting for obvious reasons, and then constant render register form, and then we just want to return a fragment, and we are going to do this literally exact same thing, and let's just do register here, and let's copy paste our form, and we'll just add in yet another placeholder here for email. Let's not forget to do IDs as well. Let's do ID equals username, ID equals email, and ID equals password. That way we can access that stuff. All right, that should do that. So currently we can't submit our form because we don't have the function set. We'll have to work with that here in a second. Create another one. They already have an account. Log in, and then let's just do on click. set show register false, and same thing here on click. There's better ways to do this, obviously. I don't normally like to do inline lambdas, as it's kind of bad to do inline lambdas. It just kind of like convolutes code and just makes it look cluttered when you do inline lambdas. So I don't normally do that in like my own code, but for just sake of the video, we're gonna do it this way. That show register true. Now we should be able to go between, oh, actually, I gotta do this. All right, we made another conditional function just to quickly render content there. And now if we go back to our application, we should be able to toggle between pages very easily. Something I'm gonna do actually with this, so that way our button click isn't able to be selected. We're gonna do user select none. That way, you can't like drag and select that. You can only drag and select this stuff here. We can also change that too. Say, all right, cool. This guy to here. Create our login actions. So first things first, there's a few interesting things we're going to do here. We're going to create, since use dispatch doesn't automatically or doesn't out of the box support asynchronous thunks, we're going to have to create our own type that will support asynchronous thunks. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and come to our data objects, or data. Let's add a file here. Let's just call this redux.ts. Let's not put it there. Not put it there. Let's create a data folder called utils, and then we'll create a redux folder file in there. And then what we want to do is we want to export type. We want to call async dispatch. And then we want to call thunk. We want to set it equal to a thunk dispatch. We're going to call state any, then any action, and then that's going to create our async dispatch. It's going to allow us to dispatch asynchronous thunks, which gives us the thunk dispatch there. All right, so let's go ahead and do constant dispatch. We want to give this of type async dispatch equals use dispatch. Now we have those. I'm going to reorder some imports there. All right, so now we are able to dispatch asynchronous thunks. So let's do one, and let's just do attempt login user equals dispatch. We're going to have to create a object here. And let's do payload login user payload. Pull that out, and let's do login user async. And we want to give that the payload of this function. And constant attempt register user equals payload register user payload, and we are going to call dispatch register user async, and we are going to give it our payload. All right, cool. That's going to attempt to log in, attempt to register, and what we can do for this as well, we can technically return our well, it already does return the promise of the this is going to have a return type of promise, so then we could do like the .then, .catch if we wanted to handle certain successes, certain errors, and stuff like that, based on that information. So let's do constant handle login user, and we need the event for the form event, and event.prevent default. Want to type that in. And then also what we want to do is we want to get constant username equals event dot target dot current dot username. I want to say that's how that's supposed to be. Is we just pull like the event target current. No, that's wrong. It should be this dot that dot value. And then constant password equals event target password value. One thing you want to make sure when you're setting these is that this value is matching what your ID is here. Okay. So after this, we are going to attempt login user, and we just want to give it a username and password. And that's that. So let's go ahead and do a dot then. I don't really care what this value is. I just want to set a dispatch to set the page constant. Change current page equals dispatch, and then we want to do set current page. Do we not have an action for that? Set active page. And pages dot, I think right now must have. Okay, no, we do have a home. All right, so we want to set that to pages dot home, and then we can just do that's a function, and then change current page. Success. We can basically copy this exact same function, except attempt. We're going to handle register user here. All right, and we want to pull the email out as well. Equals event target email value, and obviously then we do email here, and we want to attempt to register user, and then once that's done, we will change the current page. And now we want to do handle login user, and then we can handle your user. Now we should be able to log in and register using our API. Here, if we do npm run build, and then we do node build slash app.js. Successfully connected. Now if we type in just say register, and we try to do like a username, email, and a password, and we hit that, we should see something here. So we get a 404. So there is a problem. There's a problem with our API on why we got a 404. I'm not entirely certain on that one. Looks like we're not using cores. All right, so I seem to have found the issue with the login. If you can't get it to want to log in, you're gonna need to go and you're gonna need to change from data to use username, and then you're going to need to change inside of the actual user model. You're going to make sure that that's username instead of name. Okay. And then I just got rid of the length checking up here. You can use that if you'd like. I'm not going to use that in this video since it's not exactly needed. But I was able to get myself registered to my API that way. So you guys should be good if you just do that, right? So if you just change username, you have to rebuild the application. And as you can see down here, we did that. We did post API register. Another thing you'll have to do is in network, you'll have to add this slash API at the end to be able to use the API. Completely overlooked that in the last video. So just go ahead and make sure you do those 3 things and it should work just fine for you. Okay. So I've went ahead and registered my user. So currently we are there. So I just have, my username, my email, and then a password. So obviously this stuff will stay formed. So if we hit login, we should see some sort of request come across that or an error. But actually, let's check a couple different things here. I want to check redux, see what's in state for user. We have no user. Right, so we're gonna go ahead. So I went over some things with some errors that I was having here with this login, and we need to make a couple changes here if you're experiencing these problems as well. So on our actual like code here for our login, if we go to login, we're passing usernames instead of emails. So on our API, our REST API in our routes user TS file, we need to change this from email. We need to change this to username. Change this one to username. Change this to username, and then we can just get rid of this. And that'll allow us to log in. Okay, so there's a couple of other things we're going to do in here as well to clean up some code for when our user actually does log in. So what we're going to do is instead of our is valid here, we're going to leave our token, and then we have an entry, which is this guy. And instead of doing anything with our entry, instead of expanding it, we're just going to pass just the entry in like this. Okay. So that should take care of getting our entry into our request without having a bunch of extra mongoose parameters in here. We can also make it to where we filter out a couple of things as well. So we don't want to include any of that in our user request. So we're going to go ahead and filter these out as well. So because we don't care about those being sent to us. All right. So with that being said, now we can go ahead and do npm run build, let this build, and then we can go ahead and run it. And then we should be able to see on our user side whenever we go to log in. Let's do npm or node, sorry, build /app.js. And now we see that it's running. Okay. So now that this is running, we can go ahead and go back to our application here. We can do npm run dev. And open this up. All right, so now we have this. We're back here again, right? So we can just do Grunland. And then I'll enter, actually, I'm gonna register on a new account. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's just do my current email. I don't know why it looks so weird, but okay. Oh, wait, is the username anyways? Yeah. And then we'll just do like test, test pass, or just random. Oh my god, if I can type this morning. NDOM password. Okay, let me hit register. Oh, wait a minute. I think I did this wrong. Hold on. That's pretty funny. Let's just do G then, and then we'll do me at .com, and then random password again. Hit register. We were capable of registering. So we got the 200 okay. We go back to our login. We do RNG and we do random password. We hit login, and we should see here that we have a 204 no content, which is our pre-flight request. And then we have a 200 okay. And if we go to the response, can I pretty this? Yeah. There we go. So now we get a token back. We get our entry from there, and we are capable of doing this. So let's go ahead and process this data into state. Given this exact data that we have, we can process this into state. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Visual Studio here. Let's go ahead and pop this down so you guys can see this as well, because I don't want you guys to not be able to see it, because we're going to be following this pretty closely. So let's go ahead and pop these up. It's a little bit different from how I normally do videos, so give me a second here, but we'll do that. All right. So let's go ahead and zoom in. I did not know you could actually do that. All right. Isn't there like a like a control shift scroll or like a control alt scroll or something that lets me like zoom in? Control equals. All right, yeah, let's do it like that. Okay. That's probably fine. So let's go ahead and go over to our user API. So whenever we log in a user, we send a request. We want to log in, post, we give it our token, all this stuff works, right? So what we need to make sure is in our actions for our user when we log in our user asynchronously, and we use our create async thunks to get our authentication tokens and stuff. We want to make sure that this is going to be returning an IAPI user, right? I think we did this all in another video. So let's go to our IAPI user object, and we can see that we have a token and a user. So let's go ahead and change this guy. Since our API is entry, we can just change this guy also to entry. And then this basically is going to be our iUser object, which will have an email and a username. We can probably exclude the password from our request as well. So let's go ahead and change this back to user, and we'll make a couple more changes to our API. So let's go back to our user routes file. We're going to change this guy to say user. We're going to replace every instance of that with that. All right, so now we should be back in business here. Now we should be able to hit login. We should get a dual success request, and we did. So now we can go to response. So we can stringify that so we can actually see it. And now you can see we still have a password. That's probably fine, but we can filter that out, obviously, in our reducer. So we're probably gonna do this a little bit of a choppy way of filtering this password out, but it'll definitely work. So now we can go back into our actions, make sure our IAPI user returns a token and a user, and it does. Now we can go into our reducers, user, and a login user async. We pull the user and the token out, and let's do constant new user. And instead of doing user here, we're gonna pull some parameters out of here. So let's do username. And I believe UUID, correct? Is that what's in our user object? Or our user should have a UUID, regardless. I don't know why it doesn't. So let's make it have a user UUID and then an email. Okay. So new user equals, let's just do UUID, username, and email. And then we can set this guy to the new user. A little bit of some destructuring so that we don't include our passwords in any of this. It's probably a better way to do it, and I'm almost certain there's another way to do it. I'm just doing it what's on the mind first, just so we can get through this quicker. So yeah, that's creating that. So now once we go into here and we go ahead and hit login with our new credentials, obviously. Random password, and we hit login. We should get a success request back. We did 200. We go into redux. We go to our current after this. Are we not handling this response? Hold on. I'm gonna make sure we're actually handling this. Fulfill.type. Actions are definitely getting dispatched. All right, so let's go here and let's try this again. Go to redux. Pending currently. It possibly could fail. Why is it pending though? The XHR failed. That's why. Okay, let's go to redux now. We have this. So why is our... Yeah, why is our user never being set? Okay. This could actually be why. Yeah, this is actually why I believe. So we're gonna do state dot current user equals new user. And then we're going to do state dot token equals token. And then we're going to go ahead and get rid of this return statement there. We don't really need to do this with Redux Toolkit because Redux Toolkit is already immutable. It uses immer, so you can go ahead and mutate this state. And this is basically the draft that's being passed in from immer. So like it's very, very nice, and you don't really have to do a whole lot. So we're just going to do that, those couple little changes here, and we should now be able to log in. I hope, if I can enter the right passwords in. Oh, that would definitely cause that. If our payload is, we need to add an exclamation point. I can't believe I missed that in a separate video. Now if we go Aaron G and random password, hit login. Now we're at main page. Woohoo, there we go. All right. So that's logging in. Now we are currently capable of logging into our application. We are at our main page. So there we go. That's basically getting the login stuff. I think that's really all that we need to do here. What do we even add? Slash, what the heck? Just a little bit of some code cleanup there, but yeah. All right. So that's pretty much finishing up this episode. I appreciate you all for watching. Sorry this episode took so long to come out. I've just been very, very busy recently. But as always, remember to like, comment, subscribe for more content. If you like what you see, let me know down below in the comment section. And I'll be sure to keep turning out more content for you guys. I've just been extremely busy with work and some freelance contracts, but we're currently getting through things. I'm trying to keep the YouTube upload schedule going. I know it's been like 2 weeks since I last uploaded, but we're trying to get there so that way we can start uploading every weekend and probably some weekdays. But we'll try to work that out. But again, I appreciate all of you. Thank you for watching, and peace out.